Today we're talking about SBMM and why people on the internet, including most of your favorite streamers, hate it. First, let's talk about what SBMM is. SBMM stands for skill-based matchmaking, and the definition is pretty much what it sounds like. It is a system used to make online multiplayer matches where the game factors your perceived skill into account and attempts to match you against similarly skilled players. So the overall goal of skill-based matchmaking is to take hundreds of thousands of players and match them up competitively. Now, way back at the beginning of gaming, skill-based matchmaking wasn't widespread. With slower internet connection speeds, games match players based on location and connection speeds. You go even further back to like the dawn of online multiplayer, most games outsourced matchmaking to the players. You'd log into multiplayer and have to find someone hosting the kind of game you wanted to play. That's changed a lot in the last 15 years, where now most but not all online multiplayer is done with some form of skill-based matchmaking. The complaint, I think, comes up with how we view games. You get off work, you get out of school, you want to relax and play a shooter or maybe some kind of team-based game like Rocket League to wind down. But instead of winding down, you're playing against people that are of similar skill. If you want to win, you're forced to focus up, play hard, and compete. That kind of flies directly in the face of your intended goal when you logged on to play. This is what a League of Legends ranked population graph looks like. I decided to use League of Legends as an example because it has a large player base, and I thought it'd give a good look at what a distribution of players based on their perceived skill really would be. You can see most players fall into the middle. We have a pretty nice bell, and honestly, for those players, truly random matchmaking works out great. Local matchmaking probably works out great for it. The issue is on the ends. Truly random matchmaking or localized matchmaking doesn't really work out great for the kid that's at the bottom of this pool. He's going to get stomped 90 times out of 100. By the same thought, this works out incredibly well for the player on the top end because they'd get to feast on everyone below them. So we can see what the incentive would be for a creator or a streamer to have this system. Without skill-based matchmaking, they'd be put into lobbies where they're going to win, and probably by a big margin, 90 times out of 100. SBMM comes in and attempts to answer this problem. The bottom end of the talent pool plays against players of similar skill, and the top end of the talent pool plays against players of similar skill. The guys in the middle should have largely similar matchmaking regardless of what method they use. So this should work out fine. Now, do other problems occur with systems like skill-based matchmaking? There's not a high percentage of players at the very top or the very bottom. So instead of creating incredibly long queue times, until players can be appropriately matched up, the system typically has a fail-safe method where they can widen out their reach for SBMM. The top-end players end up getting put in with the higher-tier average player, and the bottom-tier players should get put in with the slightly lower average-tier player. There's other scenarios where this doesn't quite work out. Different games use different metrics to determine what a player's skill should be, and when we group up with a party or with our friends, the game now is a more difficult test to determine what kind of teams you should be playing. Most skill-based matchmaking systems value your pre-made team into a higher bracket. Couple this with thousands of other players partying up at the same time, factoring in things like queue times, and you're going to wind up with an experience that for many players can be frustrating to say the least. So should gaming companies refine SBMM or look for an alternative? Probably. Is truly random matchmaking the way to go? I don't know. Let us know what you think in the comments and check out some of our other videos. We'll see you in the next one.